Hello, folks. It's Mike Hanson. Be sure to subscribe to our new YouTube channel, Hanson Archives, Hanson. And don't forget our old YouTube site, which has plenty of good stuff on it, and we're still going to put some good stuff on it, Mike Hanson Archives. And we're doing our best we can. We got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tapes to transfer over and to edit and to put them up there. We're looking at some 1995, 1996, and beyond. Most things are 25 years or younger. So we got Jeff Davis, and we got Alex Jones, and a bunch of other good patriots there. As most of y'all know, I was the producer for Alex Jones, InfoWar, Exposing Corruption, and all the other shows that he had there on ACTV, plus the Jeff Davis show, and a lot of other good people like George Humphrey and Steve Lane. And you'll see it. Just keep watching YouTube. And also, I'm on Facebook at Mike Hanson from Gonzales, Texas. But be sure to subscribe there, Hanson Archives on YouTube. All right. Thanks a lot, and God bless. Anything you can do to help get this process going a little faster, write us there at our new address, and phone numbers and everything else be popping up here and there on the video.
Come out. But if you got grass that's this high and some neighbor tattles like the Nazis like, or the Stasi or whatever.
That's a very important element to all of this. And we're seeing this now on many different types of issues.
Yeah, well, that was the excuse.
Where they encourage people to tattle on
the excuse in the paper is that the people are asking for this. And you'll see Mr. Ellingson's lawn, there's no problem. He didn't even mess with it. He didn't change it. He didn't do anything to it. I drove by the day he faxed it to me two Thursdays ago, the day after he got it, like on July 17th I drove by. He got the notice on July 16th. And I literally fell out of my vehicle almost when I drove by on West 37th, because it's right off there and there's no problem. And then you go by the council member's house, and I heard some other council members are even worse. We're going to go by those later, but I'm sure they'll have it all cut by then. And literally it looks like Tarzan lives there. You'll see swarming mosquitoes that were biting me and your producer, who did an excellent job. And then we were told by neighbors who had nice homes. This is a nice neighborhood that this council member lives in. Very, very pretty little neighborhood with, birds flying around and stuff. But it was like all the homes were nice and pretty except for the council member's home, and her rent house across the street had a tarp on the roof that the neighbors pointed out. 5 different sets of neighbors. Yeah, that's her property too. Look at it, a blue tarp. It's been there for a year, and there's bugs and mosquitoes flying out of there. That place is weird. And you'll be able to see the footage of it more in depth. And it just, I don't, and then these people will counter, we have to, there's laws.
That's right, there's law. Now keep in mind, folks, what's important about this is the people that are mandating the laws, and supposedly, and I think there's some question to all this.
Environmentalism's all about taking private property. I mean the establishment line of environmentalism, which isn't environmentalism. It's an excuse to usurp private property rights and make despotic inroads into private property. And now Clinton's having this hate speech summit, which is attack against the First Amendment. The Second Amendment's under siege. Well,
let me just make this point, Alex.
Yeah.
And I think what's important about all this is this is actually a person's home that supposedly, on the surface, dictating to the city manager and the staff what's going to be implemented.
He's lived there since '47.
No, I'm talking about the footage that we've got coming up here. Okay, and their house, the council member's house, as we will see in the footage,
is 100 times worse.
Is worse than the fella here that's being targeted.
Oh, and there's also a derelict vehicle with vines. And this is a residential neighborhood. This isn't the country or something where you'd see this. It looks like a car that was left in the Amazon rain basin.
And you can be sure that
it's got vines curling around.
And you can be sure that they're watching.
Oh,
now listen. Now listen to this. Now listen though. Here's the thing that we need to make the most clear, and that is that no one's saying, folks, I don't want to get into a dispute with anybody on this subject and whose house is worse than whose house. But that's
not the government's business.
This is the
essence.
I say that. Yeah, this is the essence of the problem. When you allow huge bureaucracies to dictate,
they grow. They get
what goes on with what our retirement should be, what our livelihood should be, how we should control our private property, how we should drive our cars, own our cars. These are the problems, the hypocrisies, and the problems that you deal with when you allow this type of environment to thrive.
But it's for our best interest.
Yeah, it's always presented in
Just like when Stalin marched 50 million peasant farmers who've been living good lives off their land, and 40 million of them starved to death and 10 million were killed in gulags, and the academia around here will still not really own up to it because they were all running around during Khrushchev's time, and Clinton was flying over to Russia in 67 and 68 for Communist Down with America victory summits. It was fine to protest the Vietnam War. I would have been against that war. But what's not good is that there's so much of the so-called intelligentsia in this country is just thinks it's okay to take people's private property because they know best.
And that's, and the essence, again, and once again, folks, the essence is not focused upon, and we've kind of got this going on down here in ACAC.
What are you saying, producer?
With this,
we're going to play this tape and then back.
Okay, let me just make this point. It's kind of like what's going on down here at ACAC. We're seeing this business with this commercialism deal now, where everybody's watching everybody's show and, hey, he's doing commercialism. They're doing commercialism. They're doing commercialism.
It's meant to take energy out of the sales.
That's exactly what it does. And this is exactly what, if you allow this type of totalitarian system to be implemented.
A divided house cannot stand.
Right, and this is what they're doing. In fact, they're going so far now, and this is going to be the third time I say this, because this is one of the very key elements to all of this. They are now encouraging folks to go out and tattle on everybody, whether it be you see somebody throwing something out your window, whether their grass is too high, whether they're watering their grass,
Water Waster Hotline, the newspaper.
Whether they owe income tax.
Hold on. Ozone Action Day, and listen, I don't want to live in a city with bad emissions, but emissions are getting better because of catalytic converters. We're moving forward. Technology can either free us or destroy us. And I'm ready to move out of this weird industrialization. I'm ready to move into the information age with new clean burning systems and get rid of fossil fuels and have solar power and hydroelectric power. And I'm ready for people to have self-sufficient farms if they want them. Let's do it through education. But instead, people on the street will just, everybody that I talk to, if they do have something to say political, either it's I don't know nothing about anything and I don't care, or it's rainforest is going away. We've got to give up some of our property rights to save it. Do you think giving up your property rights here in the U.S. is going to save the rainforest? It's all a big lie of the foreign banks that now could own and control our government. And that's a fact. That's not a conspiracy. That's how the world works. And so this whole thing is raising the consciousness of environmentalism. Isn't about raising the consciousness about the environment. It's about getting us used to, it's for the environment. I'll lay down. I'll do what you say. It's religious. It's cult-like.
That's the very key. The fact is, folks, if there is an environmental problem, the last people you want to entrust to fix it are the same ones that have been in control of the system for the last 70, 80 years. It's a con job, folks. It's a con job.
Big governments destroy the environment.
There's no question.
From China to Russia. I mean, look at Russia, the worst country for environmentally in the world. Nuclear reactors in lakes, toxic chemicals, things falling apart, corruption, crime out of control. That's what it gives you. KGB running the country. Murder, death is the name of the game. If you want that, that is the shake and bake policy of history. You let thugs get in. You let them whisper in your ear. These nice little goody two-shoe bureaucrats that really believe in what they're doing, these upper-level ones, they'll be brushed aside once they usher in this utopia every time.
You mean this new world order?
Yeah, then the gangsters that they've employed to push us into submission will turn to them and say, now that we're in control, by the way,
let me mention,
I'm in control. I'm Joseph Stalin.
See, here's the
I'm Mao Zedong. I'm Adolf Hitler.
Here's the whole thing,
I'm Pol Pot.
Before we get to your piece here, it has to be reminded, folks, time and time again, that the international bankers, and this is what it's all about. It's not about environment. It's not about crime. It's not about the kids. The international bankers are funding They're
not bankers. They're international criminals.
Political parties.
They're international criminals. Old money cliques of crime.
They're largely in control of the mass media.
They're old gangsters.
They're in control.
Rockefeller,
in the world religion circle, and they're also it's a known fact that the Rockefeller Foundation, all these foundations are funding that have created and financed the world. In fact, the World Wildlife Fund is linked to Prince Bernhard out of the Netherlands.
And then the Dutch Roll Shell Company.
Or actually, no, it's not that.
They're a bunch of
Prince Philip.
Yeah.
It's the Prince Philip.
That's the husband of Queen Elizabeth.
Right, but the thing is, folks,
he's a Malthusian and believes all the dark and brown people should die, but then he funds all these so-called liberal environmentalist groups like Green Shield with Gorbachev running it, and they've been given a naval base at Presidio in San Francisco. And this has happened. It's been in the mainstream press. Ted Turner goes out to these big summits. I mean, this is happening. They have these operatives in here in our country. They want our private property. They want our labor.
And they devise schemes.
This is the way the world's always run. Why are we not standing up now?
The bottom line is this, folks, and you have to repeat yourself so many times, Alex, because the enemy repeats their brainwashing so many times. The fact is, folks, all the issues that are coming to you,
no significance.
It's not, well, but I mean, yeah, mostly no significance. But the conditioning, that type of information, it's not about the guns. It's not about the kids. It's not about the environment. It's not about
the CIA shipping.
It's not about crime.
But the CIA shipping.
It's about international bankers,
crime rings,
right? Who are in control through the IMF, through the World Bank, the International Bank of Settlements, who create finance governments, who are financing governments, devising ways to conquer and control the masses. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
That's why they're in power, because they're ruthless, they're bloodthirsty, they have propaganda ministers, they pay off the university heads with hundreds of millions of dollars of grant money to individual big-time universities from Harvard to UT, and they're just spouting a line of slavery and socialism. And you can always jump on the bandwagon, just submit, just jump on the government tit, be a good bureaucrat, and you'll go to the top. But the problem is, at a certain point, it gets out of kilter. And the government right now is 52% of everything. So imagine a dog and a tick that it's dragging along beside it. It's bigger than it. I mean, this economy is very vibrant because there still is some freedom left.
Oh, yeah, but Alan Greenspan says we're in good shape.
Yeah, and we had to have that interest rate hike, which is around the way tax
Alex, we actually got to knock this off because this tape... Now, this footage, folks, is
this is hypocrisy, and then we'll take y'all's call.
This was done yesterday, and it's, what, 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's about 30
minutes. No
minutes
more than 30 minutes.
It's about 30
because
minutes.
I want to take some calls.
Yeah,
we haven't taken any calls all night.
And I want to thank your producer for doing a good job.
Okay, with that, folks, one more time, let me mention, I want to thank KFIT Radio for sponsoring in part this program. And Alex, as I mentioned to James and John that were here earlier, I appreciate your efforts.
Hey, thanks to your producer.
We're going to continue to expose.
Listen, we're fiery. We argue.
These guys are like
because
cockroaches.
We're patriots. We're not like them, where we all go to these big Renaissance festivals and these globalist summits and decide how to live people's lives. We get up here and argue and debate, and I appreciate the fervor that you bring to the discussion.
Let me mention, Alex, that these guys are like cockroaches.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're hidden under rocks, and the thing that's going to defeat them is continue, that light of truth.
But there is no truth.
Continue to move that rock.
It's just like they said on Discovery Channel on a show about these conspiracy theorists that are that are all in the Ku Klux Klan. And blue M&Ms have uranium in them, we think. That's what you think, according to the media, the Osprey Statesman and Discovery Channel. Something that was on there is this professor, this lady from Georgetown, I forget her name on there. Your producer, Mike, showed it to me, and I'm going to put it on sometime, or he may. She goes, what these militias and people and these right-wingers, well, not right-wingers, that's just a term they throw out, like Hitler said Jews.
Yeah.
Hitler said they're Jews. Everybody says, oh, they're bad. They're right-wing. They're Christian now. They're bad. Here in America, it's just a buzzword. She said they think there's good leaders and bad leaders. They don't understand that there's just leaders and that there's pragmatic world policy. See, that's a Neville Chamberlain type attitude, the prime minister that let Hitler take part of Europe. And I wanted to say to her, oh, so Stalin wasn't bad, Hitler wasn't bad, Mao wasn't bad, the British Empire hadn't done a lot of bad. These people, they try to sell us that nothing counts, have no morals, have no set destiny. That way they can push you around.
Okay, now let's get to the piece, folks.
Here's the bureaucracy, folks.
Here, this is a local story. And it's got the nice. Now, will the people be able to understand what's happening?
Oh, they're going to understand totally.
I mean, the audios will explain what's happening.
Yes.
Okay.
There was a lot of interference in that neighborhood with the wireless mic, so I did some voiceover on parts. But what it is that this man, Mr. Ellingson, we did a story last week. He got sent a deal, but this isn't the story this week. He got sent a deal saying $2,000 a day fine. We're already going to go ahead and fine you. Here's the deal. Remove objectionable material and mow your grass. Well, I went out there and he had uncut grass. It was like this high some places, this high some places. He hasn't watered it. He said, this is 47. There's English ivy trees. It was a nice home. You'll see it in its condition a week and a half ago. Then we went out to the health department that same day and had walls falling over, weeds everywhere, even where the construction wasn't going on. They have some construction going on. Then we went out to a council member's home. We got a tip. We're not going to tell you our name. And not that we can't, but we're just going to show you. And it just total hypocrisy. Anybody, and then the Statesman countered last Thursday and said, "Oh, this is so needed." Well, Statesman, I want
for crimes.
Yes, and the children. I want you to counter this, Statesman. Let's do it.
All right, here we go, folks. We'll be back in about 30 minutes And we will take a few phone calls. Good job, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
The story you're fixing to see over the next 25, 30 minutes. That is the city health department. Now, forget the construction you're seeing. Look at the weeds everywhere you look, from every sidewalk to every corner, 6, 8 inches high, and in the back of the building, a couple feet high. Absolutely ridiculous. And then we'll go film Mr. Ellington's house, the guy who's been threatened with $2,000 a day liens on his home if he doesn't cut his 3-inch grass, remove objectionable material, whatever that is, and then we'll show you a council member's house. So check it out, folks. Now, there's the council member. We won't mention him by name, but stay tuned for the rest of the program. I mean, and you can't even imagine. We'll show more in-depth footage. Mosquitoes swarming, standing water, tarps on roofs. This council member is in power right now. And I'm not attacking them. They just need to do something about it. And now, here is the man who's being harassed. Here's his evil property. So you've seen the health department, and then you saw the council member's place, and then there's the guy who's being harassed. Oh, isn't he horrible? And he's done nothing to his property. Look, there's the back. I mean, it's a well-painted, nice house on West 37th. Well, here's the rest of the story, folks. Speak out against evil now or submit in silence later. Yeah, but it's so fashionable not to speak out nowadays. It's so bourgeoisie or gauche. I'm Alex Jones, and the story you're about to see is real investigative reporting. Now, I guess it's up to people like myself and others to get out and do this kind of stuff. I guess the city and state governments are totally left unchecked by the media here in town, while there's never any investigative reporting that goes on. And this story is not vindictive. We have nothing against the council member. We have nothing against her. Our problem is that she needs to understand what it's like to have people come around her house and tell her she ought to do a better job. We're not going to tell you her name right out. There's a few hints in the story. And we're not going to tell you her address or where she lives. The mainstream media here in town, that is the main affiliates and things, haven't done any investigative reporting in a long time. And they need to. But you see, they've got an easy ride, plenty of advertisers, and no problem. So why should they stand up against big city government out of control? The story you're about to see is not vindictive, but it is a council member's home here in Austin, Texas. We won't tell you her name. We're not out to make her feel bad. We're out for a little wake-up call for the city council and let them see how it is to have people come unannounced for no reason and pry into their lives. But don't worry, we're not going to try to put a $2,000 fine a day on her house for her grass being uncut. Why? We're not even going to try to fine her, because we don't have the power, but we wouldn't anyways, for the 15, 20-foot vines that hang out of the trees and run across the ground and the broken down truck in her yard. And we also found out from the neighbors next door that she owns the rent house right across the street from her house with a tarp on the roof. And you'll see some footage of that. Yes, holes in the roof, a veritable jungle around the area. And there hasn't been any health department out there. That is the problem, is hypocrisy here in town. I'll also show you Mr. Ellingson's property. Mr. Ellingson did zero. He has 3-inch grass, English ivy growing on the trees, just like this council member does. But his house is at 1/10 as overgrown as hers. But this isn't the story. The story is this isn't the city's job to pry in people's life. And also, this Thursday, the Austin American Statesman did a story 3 days after, or less than 3 days after, we aired the original story about Mr. Ellingson being harassed by the City Health Department and Environmental Services Division. Less than 2 days after, they did a front-page article saying it was because of crime and high weeds, and the $2,000 a day fines must be levied against people's homes, and the liens against homes must be done. That's fine. They need to go out and check the council members' homes and put levies against their houses then. You see, folks, it's time that you give your council members a call. It's time you raise hell and say, deal with the murderers first, deal with the carjackers and the rapists and the fondlers before you go around harassing others. And then a little bit later, we'll show you some shots again of Mr. Ellingson's home, and you'll just be shocked to see the difference between his home and then this council member's home. Holes in roofs, tarps on her property, and then the house she lives in across the street, it looks like Tarzan's fixing to come swinging through the trees in any second. So, again, this is not vindictive. This is us trying to wake people up in Austin to see that there's double standards. I mean, what is the deal here? If you go down and you check out the health department and environmental services on 15th Waller Street, I heard they cleaned it up now, but when we went down that Sunday before Monday when we did the story, there was falling down walls, there was 6-foot weeds, there was 6-inch grass everywhere, trash, cigarette butts, fire ant beds. I'm not down there harassing them. I'm just going and showing you the fact. I'm not levying fines on the people that work there, not even trying to, like they do to normal citizens. And then to see the paper jump in and defend them and make up lies for them and say sewage, children, crime goes up, East Austin. See, all these little buzzwords, folks, that's what it's all about, getting you off target, making excuses for hypocrisy. That is the essence of hypocrisy and bureaucracy out of control. And also the neighbors came up to us when we went out to this council member's neighborhood, and they said over and over, yeah, we don't know, we have nothing against her, but that's ridiculous. Her rent house across the street that she rents out has a blue tarp on the roof, and we'll show you a cut of that, and it looks like a jungle, can't even see the front door. Criminals could hide in there, just like the statesman said, last Thursday. And then you actually see her home, and it's just atrocious. And there are mosquitoes flying around everywhere. But I say leave her alone. Let the council member live her life. Council member, when you hear about this, please understand we're not attacking you. We're not being vindictive. Please, repeat, please call the health department and tell them to get off people's back. Make sure there's not cockroaches in our food at restaurants. Make sure that things like that are being done. Stop, but I understand you want to shake people down, health department. There's a lot of money in these $2,000 a day fines and liens on houses. You've taken quite a few houses, haven't you? Especially from older Americans who are sometimes a little, not too sharp. Yeah, that's your policy, isn't it? Making people clean up creeks and in subdivisions behind their homes that they don't even own. Yeah, like my grandparents. That's real nice. And the story you're about to see is real investigative reporting. Now, I guess it's up to people like myself and others to get out and do this kind of stuff. I guess the city and state governments are totally left unchecked by the media here in town, while there's never any investigative reporting that goes on. And this story is not vindictive. We have nothing against the council member. We have nothing against her. Filmed it last Sunday, and it played that Monday, and then the Austin Statesman countered it. A story about the health department harassing Mr. Ellingson. He had 3-inch grass. He was a bad person. Lived there since 1947 on West 37th. Then I got a hot tip, and we're just going out here to check it out, that a city council member out here in South Austin lives in a house that doesn't look bad, but it's overgrown. And we don't contend that that's even our business or that that's a bad thing. But we're ferreting out hypocrisy. Not that the city council member, and we're not going to say her name, is engaged in hypocrisy, but that she might need to know about the hypocrisy that's going on with the health department, which everyone who saw the show last week saw they had walls falling down, overgrown 6-foot weeds, 6-inch grass everywhere, cigarette butts and garbage. So right now we're going out to this city council member's house just to check on their report. So we don't go check things out first. We just go check it out, do the story, and if it doesn't look like a good story, we don't do it. We're fixing to find out. We're fixing to see how hypocrisy is here in Austin, Texas. And we're not going to tell you their address, and we're not going to tell you the city council member's name. I'm sure enough people who know the city council member will recognize, friends of hers. We'll just say that. And again, this is no attack on the person themselves. It's just to let them see how it feels. We're not coming to levy $2,000 a day fines like the city does, the Human Health Services Department, Environmental Services, Human Health and Environmental Services Department, like they levy $2,000 a day according to the, last Thursday's Austin Statesman. It's very needed. It's for crime and things. If you've got grass over 3 inches, the criminals all come. And so we've got to punish these people. So we're going to see if the city council member needs to be punished. Why? If the grass is over 3 inches or any little dead spots, we're going to immediately call the health department and notify them of the evil that's going on. So again, we're out here ferreting out dangerous criminals, thought crimes, brain crimes, and environmental crimes, all equally important. Now people getting their throats slit and the crime that's running wild in the streets, well, and the carjackings and the rapes and the fondlings and things, we're not really going to worry about that because that's not hurting Mother Earth. We're only worried about the evil behavior that's going on. So we'll get there in just a few minutes and we'll check it out. We'll see if these reports are true. Here we are at a council member's house, home. No. Here we are at a council member's house, home, down here in Austin. And I'm not going to tell you their address or who they are, but you ought to see how overgrown their house is. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Very nice little neighborhood over there, I will tell you. But it's just crazy that we'll just wait till you see how overgrown it is. Hell, look at that house. That's more overgrown. Look, that's not the council member's house, but look, that's more overgrown than Mr. Ellingson's. It's crazy. I think it makes me the maddest is how the paper countered with that story. We came out and did a story about Mr. Ellingson being harassed by the health department and environmental services, and 2 days later there was a front page thing on the health department saying how wonderful they are, stopping crime, sewage, and helping the children in East Austin. Why, everything health department did it. Here we are, folks, the right-wing evil. Look at it. This is a council member. Now, we should probably slap up some footage later of Mr. Ellingson's and show you that this is 10 times more overgrown than his property. Selective enforcement. Selective enforcement. And we're not attacking this council member. We're just saying, hey, maybe they should know about the hypocrisy in the city that they run, that we've elected them to protect us from their own minions. Even the driveway's overgrown. I mean, look at that. And folks, the camera can't even catch what's going on in this yard. And it's not our business. We don't care. I don't think it's a problem. But the statesman does. The health department does. They agree. $2,000 a day fines for non-compliance. Better take their home. Better bulldoze it. Out of control. Out of control. It's best. Absolutely out of control. I think I ought to go up there. Well, anyways, we went out there, and I don't know how to explain it. You should have seen it with your own eyes. The council member owns 2 houses on that street. The one you're looking at right now is supposedly where the neighbors told us she lived. That's where the hot tip told us she lived, and then we checked it out, and that is where the council member lives. And we asked 5 different neighbors. They all said, oh, yes, the council member lives there. Then they pointed us to the rent property across the street. I don't mean to laugh, but it looks like you'd see a great macaw parrot or something flying through, or Tarzan. It's unbelievable. Totally overgrown. You can't even see the front door. And it's a nice neighborhood. You can see the neighborhood there. I mean, she definitely has the worst properties in that neighborhood. We drove around a few streets, and it was just unbelievable. It seems like bureaucrats are all the same. I mean, they'll tell us how to do everything. When you go look at them, they're slobs. And I'm not knocking a Zeroscape yard, but in a few minutes we'll show you Ellington's property. The guy that got they threatened him for $2,000 a day fines. Now look at that. She owns that property. That's the rent house across the street. Holes in the roof. They have a tarp over it. You can't see how the wood's rotting. And I wish we would have got a bigger camera shot of the entire property. There must be a little trail to the door. It's unbelievable. And you'll probably see me laughing and making a joke out of it right here. But, I mean, and I'm saying leave her alone. Leave the council member alone. But if this doesn't make us act, if this doesn't make us, now there's her actual property where she lives, and the camera just does not catch it. Unbelievable. And the air was just swimming with mosquitoes. I was being bit on the head and on the back of my neck and on my hands. When I was over at Mr. Ellington's house for about an hour and a half talking to him last week, we first did a story. There was nothing. There was no bugs. He had healthy cats. Didn't see him scratching. Had a beagle dog. He's an old semi-retired arborist. I mean, so, I try to make jokes out of it and make it to where we can handle it, but really it's scary. And then to see the Austin American Statesman, 2 days after we did the story Monday, on Thursday, because we did it Monday night, so really that's 2 business days, come out with a front page story on the cover saying, tall weeds cause crime, East Austin, all these buzzwords. No, it's $2,000 a day, folks. They love it. They're making tons of money out of this. Squeezing people with environmental services. Tell you the truth, it's not good for the environment to, there's one of the vehicles that's parked there. You might want to, and you can guess who the council member is. We're allowed to say who the council member is, but I'm not going to get into that game. But again, there's the rental property across the street, the neighbors told us, and the other property is where she lives. And again, they have a rotting roof. Why, that's a health hazard. Standing water, just like there was lots of standing water, just like the letter that Mr. Ellington got, said remove objectionable material. Well, what's that? I don't know. Whatever they want it to be, I guess. But we'll show you some cuts of Mr. Ellington's property. Now, this is a normal, what most of the houses look like in the neighborhood. And then there's her yard next door to one of the other houses. So there's one of your council members again, folks, showing us how to run things. Broken down vehicles. We didn't want to get on her property, but you could see the vines were wrapped around the antenna on the vehicle. Anyways, I don't know. You just, and again, don't you attack me, Alex Jones, for what I'm sitting here doing. I'm not trying to cause a bunch of trouble for this person. I'm saying they're running our city and they're going around harassing people, and then it's just hypocrisy, man. Ellington. And then people called the show last week and called my radio show too and said, oh, you know, we got to cut that grass. It's for the, you know, hurting, crime, bugs, breeding. And I'm like, he had 3-inch grass. Oh, the city wouldn't do it unless it was needed. Well, all right then. If Ellington's land's bad, then get over their city and put liens against her. $2,000 a day. Their own. Well, last Thursday's Osberger Statesman had it in there. $2,000 a day is needed. It's important to keep us safe. Yeah, safe from what, you know? I don't know. I'm not going to ramble anymore. Here's Mr. Ellington's house. Check this out. And see the difference between her properties and the council member's properties and his property, where he's lived since 1947. Well, here's his property there, and he did nothing to it. That's exactly how it was. I drove by 3 or 4 days before we did the story and saw it, and the grass was uncut, unwatered. It was like 3 inches high and had dead spots in it, like any other, place with a lot of trees. And the place was well painted, nice indoors. I didn't see a tarp on the roof or anything, a danger to any children or anything. And the house you see in front's where he has some renters, some nice English guys who are artists who live over here. And then you can see his art, and then you can see Mr. Ellington, older gentleman's arborist work shed. And there's some of his evil right-wing cats. Those are actually his cats, and he's got a dog. And he's also got a parrot back in his 2-story little house in the back. Lived there since 47. Actually built those houses himself. His wife died. So that's what's going on. Actually, his wife died, so he moved out of that house a long time ago and rented it. Kind of sad to live there. And you can just see the problems that he's been causing. It's obvious that he's bad. And you can see and there's the arborist, a little trailer. They give him a little bit of trouble about keeping that there. See, maybe if he was just like Goodman and became I'm sorry. Maybe if he was just like some of the people in government around town, nothing would happen to him. Maybe he would just be left alone. I don't know. Maybe he'd just be left alone if he'd just give up and quit working and not have that bad trailer with some plants in the back, that he has to go pay the landfill to exorbitant prices to dump. And here's the backyard, just the complete evil. You can see some lumber where he does a little bit of carpentry, and he didn't even straighten up when we came over. That's just the way it's been. There's the terrible long grass, just the worst thing I've ever seen. It was a little bit taller in back. It was probably 4.5 inches tall in back. And see, we're not hiding anything. We're showing you the back. And those tarps were not put up just because we came out there. He'd had tarps over his lumber for a long time. There was holes in the corner of the tarps. They'd been there so long. And there's his vehicle. Just a bad man trying to live his life. There he is. God, he's got to be stopped. Oh, man. And there we go up front, being bad people, just causing trouble, hurting whoever we can. And in a few minutes, I'll show you the health department. We went out to the health department after we were here, and as usual, didn't even go check it out before we did the story. We just went out there to the health department, and it was just in disrepair. So that's where Mr. Ellington lives. Ellingson, excuse me. Very bad. Oh, no, Flower from when his wife was alive. Yeah, he's got to be stopped. Lived there since 47. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Look at the freshly painted house, And there's the letter he got on July 17th. We were on the story by the 25th, and by the 26th, and the Statesman had countered by the 31st with a story about how, it was all East Austin, it was all crime, it was all broken sewage, every buzzword they could think of. And then it showed some couch at a, but there's the little citation threatening liens on his house and $2,000 a day fines, which they do routinely. In fact, I just heard of a story we're fixing to do of a guy who's been charged $500 a day, and he's going to fight him. And you see where the city's involved and environmental services involved, the Constitution ends because it's always an emergency. And everyone agrees in town, and our consciousness has been raised about ozone days, and it's just, we've just got to do it. It's an emergency. It's a crusade against evil. It's got to be done. Well, let's go. I'm here with Charles Roland Ellington over here in central Austin, right off Guadalupe Street. And he lives at 407B West 37th Street, Austin, Texas, 78705. And thank God people like him are still willing to stand up. Now, I was shocked when I met Mr. Ellington at a Patriot meeting talking about lower taxes and less government regulation, you know, bad things like that. And later he faxed me some information that the city is harassing him, the Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health Department, Environmental Health Services Division. They have piles of junk in their backyard. We went in his backyard, and there's nothing but a stack of lumber covered with a tarp. This is his private property. This is America, and I want you to film the grass here. There's nothing wrong with this grass. It's zero-scape grass. That's what the environmentalists beg us to do. It's cut. It's clean. There's no problem. It's you know, it's not some millionaire's home, but it's a nice central Austin home that I would be proud to live in. I really like the way these neighborhoods look. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about how there is selective enforcement. And then I was shocked to find out that Mr. Ellington, Mr. Charles Roland Ellington, has in the past gotten onto the city about some of its out-of-control spending and has been an involved citizen. And so that's something that I find to be very shocking. Mr. Ellington? Ellingson. I really appreciate you having the will to stand up to what they're doing. How did this all start, and in your opinion, why are they doing this?
And if you'll note that the expansion in the blue pages will give you the blues by the volume of increasing phone numbers supplied for city services.
That means harassment extortion centers.
That's about the size of the matter.
So you exercised your constitutional right. You've gone to city council. You've written letters. You've made phone calls, and now you're being singled out and being harassed for no reason.
That does seem to be, cause and effect reason. It does seem to be prudent.
Well, we're not going to invade the privacy of inside your home, but I was just inside there with you. And it's a very nice place, no big deal, almost like a little country house. How long have you lived here?
Since May of 1947.
How dare you, you evil carpetbagger. We've got to get you under control.
Before this city usurpation of micromanagement, the cockroach syndrome. The cockroach syndrome of micromanaging all facets of a citizen's life. And that's not American. That is un-American.
Well, how dare you be a hard-working arborist and a person that's engaged in other... I mean, that's just... How dare you?
A bourgeois member. A member of the bourgeoisie.
That's right. Yeah, you're out of control. We've got to stop you. We've got to... So, this little loving letter right here, I'll just read part of it. Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health Department, Environmental Human Services. That's gangsters calling themselves service agents. 15th Waller Street, Austin, Texas, 78702. If you want to get in touch with them, we'll put up their number during the show. You want to call and tell them how much you appreciate them harassing older, hardworking citizens here in town. Their phone number's 469-2015. That's 469-2015. And their fax is 469-2030, and we'll give that out later. Now, it says, this is an inform you that a condition in violation of ordinance or state law exists on property located at 407 West 37th Street. And you've said you're a tough guy, you're willing, you don't mind people knowing where you live. If they want to come by and see the evil property that you live on, see, I came by before you, when you first faxed me this. And you told me that since then you raked up a few leaves. That's all you've done to straighten up the property. and it's still shocking to me. It's your property. That's not the argument. You should be able to do what you want on your property unless you've signed a homeowner's clause. And as far as I know, over here on 37th, there is no homeowner's clause, is there?
To my knowledge, I don't recall one.
Well, again, sir, how much have you been involved in politics? Why are they singling you out for selective enforcement, as we know the socialists do?
My verbal voice sounds like a frog down at a deep well, and it carries so well, they remember it.
Now, don't forget, folks, that we did this story, filmed it Sunday, played it that Monday, and then by the 31st of that Thursday, the Augsburger Statesman had countered, saying how wonderful the health department was, and this was needed because of crime and sewage and all this. I didn't see that around Mr. Ellington's. I don't think his 3-inch grass was causing a problem, and I think him not watering helps conserve water. But past that, so the footage you saw at the first was when we went out to a well-known council person that's been reelected, and they had a tarp on the roof, vines, grass everywhere, mosquitoes flying around, 15 times worse than Mr. Ellingston's property. Now I'm going to show you the footage that we went and got that Monday of the health department. And again, we didn't go check this out at first. We just went right out to the health department and checked it out, and they were worse. So what we found is all these bureaucrats that are out telling us how to live, they're all 10 times worse than the most average home in central Austin on West 37th. So stay tuned for this, and then in a few minutes we'll be back to the main program. Hi, Mr. Ellington. I could see that you've lived here, what, since 1947, you said?
May of that year.
May of 1947. And look at these nice trees. It's nice. It's pretty.
Real small when I first came.
And there's pretty English ivy growing here in the trees, and you've got a nice shield around your tree over there to keep it healthy. Boy, you're a right-winger. And I saw your pretty little cats earlier. I could see why the city really, really wants to get its hands on this property like they've done countless others.
Make a parking lot out of it, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, or, get some rent from a good liberal lawyer or something.
Yes, wouldn't that be nice of them?
Something loving. Yeah. Well, again, we've seen the right-wing evil. We've seen how much trouble you're causing. I'm sure them sending you these letters saying they'll put liens on your house if you don't comply with their terrorism, whatever that is. I'm sure we're going to all be safe. Women on the green belts will be safe. People in their cars will be safe from carjackers, all because they're harassing you.
Yes, I mean, it's fantastic. Things are backwards nowadays, says they.
Well, we were leaving Mr. Ellingson's place in less than 150 feet from where he lives, right in the middle of the street, some giant potholes. There's some behind us and some in front of us. Let's drive up here back and look at them. See, the city won't even wipe its own nose, but it'll abuse older people in town and force them, terrorize them into giving them more money for their bureaucrat behavior. See, all the money is going for bureaucrats' salaries. It's not going to actually do the work of the city. Now they have to force us to do everything. Here, let's see the loving potholes. Right here, folks, on the Jeff Davis Show. Here we are, just right down the road again, and look, they're telling him to mow his yard when his grass is 3 inches high and he hasn't mowed it, when this kind of stuff's going on. About a 6-inch deep pothole. And there's more down here. So ask yourselves, what kind of country is this? Well, that's the truth of it. All they do is harass the citizens, push the people around. We're losing more and more of our personal rights, and they're making despotic inroads into private property, while at the same time not taking care of the essential services. You see, they dangle essential services in front of your head. Oh, you want the potholes filled. Oh, you want the EMS to have radios, don't you? See, they pay for the essentials last and pay for all their greed and strange bureaucratic behavior first. This isn't an attack at your average bureaucrats, government workers. I'm talking about the people that are under the control of our federal government that want to pay homage to them. Here we are at the loving, caring city. Austin Health and Human Services, Travis County Health Department, Environmental Health Services Division, down here on 15th Waller Street. And look at all the weeds over there. Look, it's worse than, much, much worse than Mr. Ellingson's ever was. By that air conditioner, look, that's 6-inch grass. Oh, I'm going to take the city building if it doesn't fix it. We'll have to put a lien against the city building for Mr. Charles Ellingson. Oh, and look at that tree. Look at those weeds right here, producer. Oh, my gosh. Oh, this is just the worst. Oh, my gosh. Now, folks, I know this seems really stupid, doesn't it? What is the big deal about weeds growing?
much less on somebody's private property. Oh yes, the city's being well taken care of. Look how nice the city buildings are. Boy. Always built nice. You can always trust government buildings to be built nice. Yes, I don't see any flowers growing like there are at Mr. Ellingson's. Here we are, 15th Waller Street, at the Health Building. Yes, this is where little terrorist activities are launched from in abusing the citizens of Austin, people that pay for their homes, like Mr. Ellingson, who's had his home since 1947, owns his home outright. They can't stand that. Look at it. But it's this power. Look at those bureaucrat notebooks and things up there. Think of all the wonderful harassment that goes out of this little mobster building.
Words and pictures can't describe. You have to be out there at the health department and just see how run down and messed up it was, with trash on the ground and thousands of cigarette butts and weeds growing up everywhere and walls falling down. It was just really depressing. And again, from council members to the health department that does the citations, $2,000 a day for not having your grass cut if it's over 3 inches. It's out of control. It's hypocrisy. Council members, do something now. Something scary about that letter was it said objectionable material. Well, I mean, they had trash all over the place and cans laying around the ground and just piles of cigarette butts and diseased-looking birds hopping around. I mean, that's not, and I don't, nobody's faulting them. Why are they faulting, you know, and then the paper comes in after we did that story and comes in defending the health department. They're shaking people down, man. They're shaking them down. Plain and simple. Just to recap, there's Ellingson's house, and there's the council member's house, and now here's the health department. Total hypocrisy, and the health department's too big to show it all to you. It just was all the way.
Hello, Austin, Texas. We're back, and Jeff's got something else important to say.
Yeah.
Well, y'all just saw it. I did my best job on that with your producer, and that's kind of a melding with last week's story and this week's story. The statesman counters, so we go out and attack one of their precious city council members who had tarps in their homes, mosquitoes swarming the air, you could see it, and vines in a rent property, you know, with a tarp on the top.
I want to just mention one thing here, folks. This was handed to me about 15 minutes ago. I actually can't find the piece here real quick. However, folks, what it is...
I'll find it for you.
Okay, you go ahead and find it. The Truckers Magazine. It's the... go ahead and find it. Okay. But anyway, I want to just mention, first off, Alex, I appreciate your work on it.
You bet. Thank you, producer, too.
Secondly, folks, let me just mention, I want to thank my sponsor, KFIT Radio, for sponsoring the part of the program. And this is it right here. Okay, here we go. I want to just mention this here real quick. Now, this is something we've been talking about. Now, you can comment on it. This is the, can we get a close-up of this real quick here? This is the July 97 issue of Truckers Magazine.
Trucker News.
Truckers News. And it's, you know, it's for truckers and this kind of thing. Now, on page...
59.
Okay, well, let me switch it over here to page 59. Now, here it is, folks. This is something we've been talking about. Now, this is presented as good. Look at this, Alex. New technology enables quicker, more efficient transfer of information between truck and terminal. Now, here it is, folks. Let's get a close-up of this. This is something we've been talking about for a long time now. Now, keep in mind, with the piece that we just showed, this relates to the piece that we just showed with the hypocrisy and allowing bureaucrats to dictate how we control our lives, you know, how they perceive that we should control our lives. This is a new system that we've been talking about on this program for at least the last 2 years. It's called Smart Highways. Now, this is what, about a 9-page article?
Yeah, there's one article, one point in here left.
Let me go ahead. Let me just go ahead. But this is presented to us as good, folks. Now, the key to understanding this is if we allow them, and Alex, you can comment on this, but if we allow them the opportunity to dictate to us how we spend our retirements, like they do with Social Security. You can only work so many hours when you get.
And now they're talking about going after the pension funds for our best interests.
Yeah,
they've been such good stewards of the Social Security fund, rating it and blowing it out. Now they want to run more.
Let me just make.
They want private pension funds.
if we allow them the opportunity to control our retirements, to control our properties, as we just saw in that last segment,
for our best interest.
They track our financial transactions with the IRS through smart cards, and now our mobility through busing, high-speed rail, and smart highway.
3 pieces ago, me and your producer showed the telephoto cameras they're putting up all over Mopac and 35.
Now, do you not think, folks, that they will take this technology and accelerate their tyranny?
Their power grabs.
Their power grab, yeah.
Their property grabs. We've already got all
Let's
the power.
face it, folks. This is technology being used in a negative sense.
Well, the thumb scanners.
Now, of course, this trucker's
to buy and
new.
sell within 5 years, their plan is.
Okay, we'll take some quick calls.
Within 5 years, thumb scanning.
I wanted to just bring that up because, you can see where we're going.
We never heard about thumb scanning in the news, did we? They just did it. A federally mandated program. Our state did it.
This story
they scan
actually,
us like criminals.
This story actually implies that it's in our best interest.
Definitions that are very important.
Okay, we'll get to this next week a little bit more. This actually was given to me just a few. Okay,
take some calls.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a few. I appreciate that, Steve. Okay, let's go ahead and take some calls here, and we'll see what's on your all's mind here.
Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Jeff. First want to say I really enjoy your show. Can you hear me?
Well, maybe we won't take some calls.
There you go. Hello, caller.
Yeah.
Hi, ma'am.
Yeah. I live over by Travis State School. You remember that? You know, they shut it down and they're like doing nothing over there. And it's not really relevant to what you've discussed tonight, but I want to tell you that pay-as-you-throw bullshit is bullshit, because I'm out over at Farm Road 969, and my recycling doesn't get picked up. I've been out here like 5.5 years.
Because all this so-called recycling is all about kickback socialism for these rich recycling companies. You know, they double. Wait, hold on.
Let her go ahead.
They cut the rate. They cut.
We're running out of time.
They cut pickup by trash in half. Then they doubled the rate.
Okay.
That's a two.
Okay, go ahead, man. We're running out of time.
What I want to tell you is that, you know, I talk to the people at the recycling, office, and I have some schmuck over there telling me that he doesn't want to talk to me anymore about it. And I'm telling him, well, I'm one of the first founders. I'm in my 40s now, and to me, that was important then.
Well, he's above you. He's got more money. He's got some power over you.
Ma'am, let me ask you: do you see some of these things that we talk about on this show happening?
Oh, absolutely.
What's your first name, ma'am?
It's Chloe.
Chloe, that's a pretty name.
You can call either comment line. We may do a story on that. I'm going to start doing stories every week on Jeff's show and on my show. I mean, my show's on Wednesday and Thursday nights. I'm not sure if I'm going to get my series. If I get a good series slot, I may get a good series slot down here.
Yeah. The only other point I want to make is that only when I call the mayor's office, and that's been through 2 mayors, we're in the 2nd mayor now, in the last 5 years.
Turkey Watson? Turkey Watson?
Yeah. Well, as soon as I called him, I mean, they got out here real fast, but it really sucks that I should have to call the mayor's office for them to do their job out here.
Well, I'll tell you what else is
let me just mention something to you, Chloe.
All these companies that the city hires to cut trees and things, it's a scam, too, there. It's all kickback city.
Let me just mention something to you, Chloe. This is the problem of allowing a big brother government the power to do this.
They're putting up cameras, they're thumb scanning.
Let me just mention, how they manipulate these processes doesn't really matter. What matters is that they force us to participate.
Right.
That's the problem.
That's the whole
thing.
They
get us used to following their orders.
And it's nothing but lies.
That's
nothing but lies.
That's
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
God bless you, dear. Okay, next caller. You're on the air. Real quick here.
Hello, caller, on the air.
Hello? Okay.
We lost the other
Yeah,
callers.
let me go ahead and... okay, let me go ahead, Alex. Go ahead. We got just about a minute some to go here.
Well, I'll put up my comment line if your producer wants to do that. People have any ideas for stories. I mean, your producer, I'll do it with other people. And I appreciate, Jeff, the job you do, how you bring real diversity to television programming every Monday night from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. And again, there's my shows for the next month and a half. I don't know when they'll be on after that. On Wednesday night from 7 to 8:30 p.m. and I'll be airing the story again. That's Wednesday night from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And then on Thursday nights from 9 to 10:30 p.m. right here on Channel 10. And look, folks, I didn't go out to attack this council member or the health department. It's them out bullying people for 3-inch grass.
Let me just mention
and these water waster hotlines and all this other BS has got to stop. Environmentalism of the establishment is not environmentalism. It is fascism.
This is why I think it's an important story, because it's a local issue that people can grab onto, and they can see how we're being bullied by these mechanisms.
You got it. That's why we should support Access Television, because I'm going to start doing these stories every week if I can. And I got some stories in the works that are secret that with your producer that are going to make this look like chicken feed.
let me just mention, folks, first off, we've got some other stories coming up to the fun, we're going to call them the fun break, and we're scheduled to do them with Joyce Isaacs at 1300 a.m. on the dial. And we've been talking to her, our producer, and we're hoping to do some more stories with Joyce. And with that, folks,
I appreciate all the calls.
I appreciate, well, we didn't take any now,
Well,
but that's
only
okay.
a couple.
I want to thank my sponsor, KFIT Radio, one of my sponsors, 1060 AM. And Alex Jones, keep up the work, my friend.
Yeah.
And that's about it, Austin. God bless you. And
if people want to see that story again, this Wednesday, 7 to 8:30 p.m., I'm probably going to play it again. And guys, if you can't think for yourself, you're either a prisoner or a slave. Speak out.
God bless you, Austin.
Don't let them number you like cattle either.